Congratulations again.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bill. Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, very good. Thanks for a very nice introduction. And after the talk, very likely you'll be thinking, I have wasted 50 minutes of your life. But my talk would be a bit different than you have ever heard, I would say. Not that scientifically it is something earth-shaking, but the manner I'll present it. I have about 250 slides to go through. So that's one thing. Okay, now let's go to the first slide. You know, once I think about Kansas, or the Missouri or Kansas name, people think about this, you know. And then I also see that cliche quotes that should be let go of. So what I did, I have this, but then I changed it to this. So now, path and destiny. The talk I'll be talking about a little bit history, selected research accomplishment, and I don't like to bore you with lots of graphs and plots, and there'll be a lot of visuals, you know. And science and arts, because I enjoy arts and like to do arts, but I'll tell you why I could not do arts, and future where research and everything is going. One future is definitely, I hope Kansas City gets Super Bowl this year. So that's the immediate future. So, and well, this is Stone Age, 3.5 million years ago. And then, you know, we are happy that we're not Stone Age anymore. But do you think the world ran out of stone? Probably not, you know. So the world did not run out of stone, but it is agriculture, you know. It is agriculture and science, exchange of ideas and things like that eventually led to more intellectual development than others. And that causes, that's the reason we are out of Stone Age. Now, this has then become Bronze Age, where people, you know, are talking about, okay, how to do things, this thing, then somebody decided mix tin with copper, that become bronze and other things. And the early history of chemistry, there are mainly four sections they call about. One is initially there was black magic, then alchemy, traditional chemistry, and moral chemistry, which is now. Now, in the black magic period, prehistoric times, beginning of Christian era, Sumerian, Babylonian, and Egyptian and Greek culture, that time, you know, there is a lot of voodoo magic kind of thing. Like, for example, if you look at my finger, suddenly become like this, disappears. This again disappears. So I do this, and then a lot of followers saying, oh, now you can catch the spirit, or I don't like this guy, go and do something to him. So that was the state of thing that time, you know. So one more time, just like this, you know. So, well, there will be some surprise during my talk like this, you know. So next slide, let's see. Okay, in January 1790, that's when Washington delivered the first State of Union address, and he said that there is nothing which can better deserve your patronage than science and technology, you know, literature and knowledge and other things. Since World War II, science and technology are primary forces behind U.S. economy, driving forces behind U.S. economy. Now, later on, when Mr. Spencer founded the largest ammonium, sulfate, the business in the whole world, and Forbes mentioned is one of the most consequential industrials at that time. So he felt also that science and technology needs patronage of people. And thanks to him, because of him, I'm here, we are all here. Even 60 years after his death, we're still, we think about his contribution. And the way it is, it will keep on going. looks like this award. Now, US is the leader of agriculture chemistry. Now, myself being from India, India used to have famine and less lack of wheat to import wheat from US and others. Norman Borlaug, who was the father of agriculture production all over the world, he is probably one of the most consequential Nobel laureate. He helped Mr. Swaminathan in India. Together, they made India self-sufficient in their crop production. So India's crop today, all these is contribution from Norman Borlaug and Mr. Swaminathan, who with Norman Borlaug did that. So it is a huge thing. And I enjoy art. So when I was in Washington, D.C., I made this poster. Because Norman Borlaug said there are no miracles in agriculture production. Advancing, so ARS is what we do, advancing agriculture science, our USDA ARS, where I work for. Now, science is the core existence of our daily life. Every day we use science, and without science, again, we'll go back to Stone Age or wherever. But that means when me or somebody else talk about science, people should give a lot of attention. But what happens when the room gets dark, especially after the meal, it's not dark, but you have a heavy meal. This is the somebody talking about nano something or DNA something or something. This is what happens, So, my talk, I like to have more lighthearted, so that I don't like to be preach or teach or anything, just. So this is a world population, and I don't have to look at all these, but next one is looks at 1 in 3 people from India and China, So, and now actually this is a little bit old now. India's population is more than China even. So, but anyway, so now how it looks like Calcutta, where I grew up, something, So a lot of people, and. This is Calcutta, where I grew up. Then they changed the name to Kolkata, but there is no reason, but whatever they did. So, because that is the easy thing to do, probably. So anyway, so this is the CD. In kids, when you grow up in US, you hear, follow your dreams, be what you want to be. Most important factor for motivation is goal setting. In India, we heard the same thing, but with a clause, only if you like to be a medical doctor. Or you like to be an engineer, or at least become a scientist, be something, So STEM has been there because without STEM you cannot pay the bill. So for me, I could not do liberal arts or anything, even though I really like it, but I have to pay the bill, So now this is Kolkata. Now, since I left, the population in India has gone up probably by 50%, very much bigger, 45 years ago. So now this is again, by the way, I looked up the population density of Calcutta is 40 times more than here. So if you have 100 people there, it is 4,000 people in the room, And it is double than that of New York City. And 40 times when they say, actually maybe even more, who knows how many were, So there is places like in the British Times Center, Victoria Memorial, there are places like this also. And in Kolkata, it used to be kind of left-leaning, a lot of protest, a lot of strike and things like that. So procession is going, this person has to wait until the procession goes away. So patience is a form of action there. So you cannot hurry things up, So despite of this, Calcutta has a very intellectual side. About 6 Nobel laureates came out of Calcutta. The first non-Caucasian, non-white Nobel laureate in 1913, Tagore, who won Nobel Prize in Literature. Then C.V. Raman, a lot of Raman Spectra. He was the first non-Caucasian, non-white person to get Nobel laureates in science. Then Mother Teresa is probably by far the most famous. Everybody knows she has served so much for underprivileged, and that's a very noble work. By the way, today is exactly 45 years since Mother Teresa got Nobel Prize. So recently, 2019, somebody from Kolkata got in economics. But lately, whoever gets it, not from, they may be from Kolkata, but they work in US or somewhere, or UK somewhere, So not from India itself. Now, all men are created equal, Jefferson said that. But really, are we all equal? This is the India's Olympic medal thing. They're pretty much consistently the lowest per capita, price-wise, So, though Jefferson meant different way, human right, but anyway, this is something. Now, when you're not so good in sports, you don't jump, you don't run, you're this thing, then only thing you can do is think. So, so you just sit down and think, And then when you are in Calcutta, you have intense desire that, hey, I have to do better. A lot of time which is going away, And honestly, even today, it's the same way, And so next slide, all these companies, do you know any idea why I'm putting all this company? I'll just tell you, I don't like to ask you a question and say, hey, you didn't get it. All these CEOs are Indians, like me, who grew up in India and came here. And few CEO maybe 5 years ago was Indian, Pepsi and Starbucks, something 3, 4. And that is pretty, that is a testament for not the Indian thing, this is the greatest country in the world. No other country has so many foreign CEOs. And still this is the best country in the world. Everybody likes to come here. So equal opportunity or whatever, that is the testament. You go any other country, forget about, being CEO. Even Europe is very this thing, but so many, and I'm just talking about Indian, then there are Chinese, there are so many other nationals, they are CEO too, And this country is doing so well. This is the testament of the fact this is the best country in the world, and country is doing so well, So I'm very fortunate to be in here, so. Now, when you feel the heat, you begin to see the light. The senator from Illinois said that. So for me, to run forest, run from Kolkata. So now it is easy to say, oh, just left Calcutta. But it was, we have to get, financially have to get school and all these to come here and all those. And that was 1980. A lot less people used to come than it is today, actually. And it was a significant day for me when I first got an offer from Notre Dame. Subsequently, I got a few other, but how significant, that is the most significant day in my life, more than my marriage and others, because I'm telling you, this is my wife. And she would not have been married to me if I didn't come to US. Because that was a negotiation marriage, whatever, okay, he lives in US, is pretty well said. It is, so if that case, you can say, this is 1988 I got married. This is when I was younger, so. And my wife works in a hospital as practitioner in neuro, but she could not come because spent all her vacation. I feel very bad for her then. So thank you. And then I came to Notre Dame, and that is the winter of 1980, and I felt, wow, this is culturally very different. Yeah, America is great, but so cold, no people, nothing, So you felt very homesick. And then eventually, so I did my PhD in carbon, organic chemistry, and carbon is the common denominator of all living thing. So if you leave all the organic material from the room, it is like this, So, and my PhD thesis was antibiotic synthesis, the organic chemistry. So we did some monobactam and others. This is 1988. Then we did publication, and eventually some of the work went into making of azectum that time. My advisor was Marvin Miller. He was an excellent advisor. He was only a few years older than me. And so after that, I went to University of Virginia for postdoc. And so there, this is found by Jefferson. And my advisor was the author of these 2 books. A lot of people in US, they read this, Richard Sundberg. And the problem I worked on, again, biological active molecule I'm supposed to make. So sleeping disease in Africa, I was supposed to find cure for that. So made many of these molecules, eventually had some publication and patent from here. Now, then I went to Hercules Incorporated, a chemical company. And it was a pretty big company in the US that was fifth largest company, but now it doesn't exist anymore. It exists under Ashland Chemical. And division of Hercules, there are many divisions, and no point for you reading all these, but aerospace to mining, rubber and everything. Then when you work from industry, you don't do fundamental, you do applied research. So when I worked there for about 15 years, I have only one publication because you are not allowed to publish. And I had 6 patents, but that was, the first project I was working on is, this is dicyclopentadiene, and there is 50-year-old resin Hercules had, which has softening point 50 to 60 degree. Softening point means when you heat it up at 50 degree, it starts soft, and 60 degree totally melts. So my job was to make something much more higher softening point, how to make it big, make it harder. So I thought, well, if instead of toluene, which is single molecule, if I make naphthalene, which has 2, maybe you can make it harder. But naphthalene did not work. But eventually I figured out that methyl naphthalene, it works. So we got 100 to 170 degree softening point. We got a patent, and that was commercially successful. Then another was dicyclopentadiene. It's very cheap molecule, it's maybe 10, 15 cents a pound, like gasoline. So dicyclopentadiene could be thermally polymerized then to make this and hydrogenated this thing. And we discovered that some of the modification by styrene and others, we can impart different characters. So we had a patent. And now a lot of these things were used in adhesives. Adhesives, suppose for shoe sole. So here is the shoe, the sole coming off. The Hercules ad used to say, so a lot of these become commercial in that. Discovery of scorch inhibitor, Hercules used to have very high temperature peroxide. For rubber or polyethylene, they can be cross-linked. And but a lot of time you cannot control. So I discovered some scorch inhibitor which delays the cross-linking. So we had 2 patents. Our customers, Union Carbide, it saved them a lot of jobs. For Hercules also, it saves us jobs and brought quite a bit of money. So these are some of the application, underwater cable and others. So then Hercules used to have aerospace business in Utah, Bacchus. So this is a polysulfone. We did some polysulfone modification, which were used in aerospace. And then this is the only publication I had during that 15 years. Polyphenylene oxide is a GE product, is a plastic. A lot of our car, all of our car has some polyphenylene oxide. Maybe headlight, the casing and everything are polyphenylene oxide. They're pretty strong, but optical properties pretty good. So we made some modification there, and that is the only publication we had because it is on NMR, not really any application. So polyphenylene oxide. Now then I joined USDA, Department of Agriculture, and Peoria. Now in 1862, Abraham Lincoln established USDA. And then we do work on food, agriculture, natural resources, water management, and such and such. I'll not go into all these things, And there are many center of USDA, but 4 major one is, you can see here. One of them is Peoria East, West, and South. And okay, then next slide, scaling up. Okay, I work for Peoria Lab, and Peoria Lab, the famous thing, which is really impactful, penicillin was discovered in 1928 by Alexander Fleming, but this is only milligram scale. They could not, because they isolated that. How do you get kilogram and others? Because you have millions of people, they're waiting to get penicillin. So that's when they, after 13 years, they approach Peoria Lab. Not 13 years, but 13 years after Peoria Lab discovered some way to, from moldy, some cantaloupe, they got some microbe which gives a lot of penicillin. So that changed the whole penicillin game and the World War and everything. A lot of people, lives were saved, which could not have been saved, So that was really major discovery, Now this is kind of application discovery. A lot of time, Alexander Fleming discovered that penicillin is active, which is a big thing. But on the other hand, also if you don't scale it up, you really cannot impact. So in this case, really it impacted whole civilization. A lot of us, our forefather may not be alive anyway, so we may not be alive also, who knows, So world corn production. US is a world leader in corn production. About 31% of world corn is made by US. Now out of in the US, Illinois and Iowa are the leader of corn. So these are the top 5 agriculture producing country. And since I'm in Illinois, I generally work on corn and soybean. Soybean also, I'll talk on that section. US is number 1 in soybean as well production. And however, when it talks about expensive crop, cannabis is number 1. Per square kilometer, it gives $47 million because that is not legal. And coca comes, opium also, of legal things. Tomato, grapes are pretty expensive. And corn and soybean are very low in this chart. But this has nothing to do with my thing, but just for the information. Corn is something USDA has been prepping up for a long time, And composition of corn, it has protein, starch, and fiber. There are 3, and oil, actually, And enzymes, so we use enzyme for chemical reaction modification so that they are much more environment friendly. We demonstrated that we can make some acrylate grafted starch, then hydrolyze to make a super absorbent, And most of the thing we talk about is mostly publication. Some may have patent and commercialization, but 95% is publication thing, So there is also in the corn or wheat, you take the kernel, left is the hull or straw, which is the coating, which is kind of protected from the nature. So, but that itself is difficult to use. Normally people burn it and the fuel value, whatever you get. So we figured out a way to make cellulose acetate, which is plastic, my glasses, and most of the eyeglasses still cellulose acetate. So we found a way to make those agriculture waste into cellulose acetate. Yeah. And so here is, it's like on the corn fiber, we can make 24% of conversion to cellulose acetate. Now, what happens when you take for the corn, you take the corn, you eat it or make alcohol, then with the waste, if you can make useful acetate, overall process cost goes down for everything. So my work was featured in Chemical Engineering magazine a long time back, and saying co-production of cellulose acetate promises to improve economics of ethanol production. Then we did cyclodextrin modification, and this is useful for detecting mycotoxin. Michael Appel, who is my good friend and who many of you know, he collaborated with me with that, and he does work on mycotoxin. And so we did this, and it is proven to be fairly good mycotoxin identifier. Then modification of zeon protein. Zeon is a protein from corn. That protein can be used for apple and some other food coating. It is edible, but they kind of dissolve in water, so you make them hydrophobic. Only anything you like to make hydrophobic, you stick a long chain to it, long chain carbon. So we modified with long chain, and then become better hydrophobicity. Then your coating would not dissolve so fast. Then this is another example. The bottom 2 chemicals are AKD. AKD is Hercules, where I used to work. They made tons of money with AKD because AKD is a tiny molecule, but what happens when it has a long chain, like 16 carbon chain. Now, when they make paper, they put less than 1% of AKD, and then the paper you get is much more hydrophobic. And that's why you see the paper carton in the grocery store have milk and other, because it is AKD modified. So they are very plastic-like. And so we modified Xeon with AKD also. Methyl cellulose, in our toothpaste and many other things, we use methyl cellulose, and we made methyl cellulose out of all these things. And Hercules is a big manufacturer of methyl cellulose. It has many uses. I'll not go through that. Then we discovered that in microwave we can do the same reaction in water in few minutes. Microwave. So that is very green way of making methyl cellulose in very short time. So then there is a food research. I'm not a food scientist as well, but we did enough food research. And we got about $250,000 grant from North Harvest Bean Growers Association. Here is the picture of the bean. And we decided what we can do with that. Well, we analyzed extracted the oil, we analyzed, and we found that it is oxidatively very stable. But unfortunately, bean doesn't have so much oil. So anyway, just publish, whatever. No. And then also we convert the bean into alcohol, and then also antioxidant. Bean has lots of antioxidant. Apparently, it helps you to keep young. Had I taken enough bean, I'd not look like this. But so microwave-assisted phenolic we did, and we found out it has pretty good amount of antioxidant, and some of them are very good actually. And this is a postdoc, Nuch, who worked with me for several years with the grant from North Harvest Bean Growers. Then the overripe discarded banana, that has, about 40% is lost post-harvest stage. And we tried to get some non-starch carbohydrate from banana. And then one scientist, Analia, she applied from Brazil. She had her own grant, and we wrote something called natural deep eutectic solvent, NADES. We tried to explore that, because that is a kind of new thing in the block, and publication-wise it'd be easier. Honestly, you do science, but a lot of time publication you have to keep in mind, because how often things get commercialized, very not so often. But publication, at least you can justify that my existence, I'm publishing. For student or everybody, it's important. So we did, and since she's originally from Brazil, so we decided to wrote an article on Journal of Brazilian Chemistry Society, which has the cover I designed. I'll show you later. But NADES is something, you don't need much technology, 2 chemicals, cook them, they become solvent, and use them as solvent. It has a limitation, some advantage also. I'll not go into the whole thing, but like malic acid and glucose, malic acid, fructose, urea, glucose, all these mixtures, those are used as solvent, and they can be used as solvent to extract many things. And they're naturally, all of these are pretty benign, but removing them, and although there are issues also, but it is kind of green chemistry, So here is the cover I designed. I put my wife's photo in Rio. I took, because she says I'm in Brazil too often to make her happy. I said, okay, I'll put you on the cover. She's very small on the right and low, so. And not that she cared much, but anyway, that. And this is the Analia, the postdoc who worked with me. She was very good, actually. So the local newspaper wrote something about her. And Brazilian FAPES funded that thing. And soybean field, this is an enlarged soybean field. Farmers in China grew soybean 5,000 years ago. And ironically, now China has to import soybean. They don't make enough. US sends them. So it came originally from China to US. Now it goes back to China because they don't have enough soybean, and they need soybean very much. During Trump time, you remember the trade war, China decided, no, we'll not take soybean from you, I'll buy from Brazil. So soybean is a very important commodity for US and soybean farmers, And soybean, again, US is #1 producer of soybean. Very close is Brazil. And crop area-wise, you can see 31% of the crop area is cropped by soybean. So it is very important. Used to be byproduct long time back, but now it become very main thing, Nitrogen contagion derivatives of soybean. Soybean is readily, soybean oil you can find in grocery and other. We were looking into a way, how can we make some caulking from soybean, so biodegradable or something. But caulking means it has to be sticky and very kind of peanut butter or even stronger than that. So we found that sometimes wrong choices bring us to right places. So we found that there is some chemical called dead, and if we react that with soybean in a microwave in 30 seconds, that become hard. And then even if you're at room temperature, maybe 4, 5, 10 days, it become hard. So that was the first time people showed that soybean can be made hard using some chemical. So we had many publications on these. These are fairly high impact factor journal we could do because nobody did it before. And this was the cover design I did. Let's see, yeah, this became the cover of the magazine, some of the thing, And this journal has about 42 impact factor or something, pretty high, The chemical technology which covers the notable discoveries all over the world, they covered this work at that time, So now synthesis of other soybean oil derivative. Now soybean oil can be epoxidized and commercially it is available. We found a way to put amine group. Now the amine group, with that amine group you can attach soybean oil to many other things. So this is the NMR, no point about it. Then we saw that we can put some azide group also in water, and it is very green way. There is no chemical involved except sodium nitrite in water, you can make azide. So then Goodyear reached us that time. They need a few hundred kilograms. They like to explode that. Instead of mineral oil, they like to use soybean oil in their formulation with this amine group because amine will react with their other things. And eventually, that they did some, but then the management changed and other did not go much further. And then we found in water with little bit ionic liquid, something called, I'll get to that later, and we can put some more amine group in soybean oil, and we patented that one, And also, if you take epoxy soybean oil and put it in acetone, which is common chemical, with a pinch of iron chloride, ferric chloride, you can make another chemical. They call ketal. Ketal you can make. So we demonstrated that. We just published these. Not everything has industrial application. I was invited to the World Soybean Conference in Brazil, which they have once in 3 years. About 1,000 people attend because they are very big on soybean. So here I was giving the talk. And Brazil gave me quite a bit of things, a lot of funding and others. Here is my collaborator, Rosalyn, and her husband. Because first I got the Science Without Border from Brazil, which is 3 years, 6 trips, and altogether 3 years, 10 months. But anyway, she applied for that for me. Here are some other. In Brazil, here we have to find women in science. But Brazil, more than 50% science here are women. Because men probably just go to beach and hang out. So, and to some extent that's the case, literally. So science, women is there is no lack of women in science. If you steal from one author, it's plagiarism. If you steal from many, it is research. Naturally, from time to time, you read literature to know what's going on. And I found that somebody from India, in less known tetrahedral letter, is okay, nothing high-level journal. High-level in the sense, impact factor, why is it a good journal? Found that if you take alcohol, acetic anhydride, and a pinch of iodine, they make the acetate. So naturally, there are many ways hundreds of ways of making acetate. And so I thought, why not apply that in starch and cellulose? Because regular alcohol acetate has not much value, but when you talk about cellulose acetate, that's the industrial product, And a lot of time, when you translate the same thing in to apply that to cellulose, doesn't work. But in this case, it worked. So I discovered that cellulose, which is paper is cellulose. And you take that, put acetic anhydride, a pinch of iodine, becomes cellulose acetate. So that's where the title comes, plant to plastic, And this is very simple reaction. And so as a result, it was cited by many people, and especially countries where you have less opportunity, everybody started doing it because all you need is iodine and acetic anhydride. So It was highly cited. So then the reaction is very easy and it always works. It works with starch and you cannot mess it up. There are just three components, you add them, that's it. No solvent, nothing needed. Now cellulose esters have attractive physical properties, like here you see mixed cellulose acetate and all these. Around us, there are many cellulose acetate derivatives available. And the way it is typically made with acid and other things, but here you don't use any acid. And so that's, it is kind of relatively friendlier environment to do things. So this is you don't have to go through the chart. Basically with the time, the degree of acetylation goes up. And then if you do it 100 degree in 10 minutes, it can do it works for starch also. And anyone know this thing, IR, you can see the hydroxy going down and acetate goes up. Yeah, that's role of iodine. It apparently complexes, does something, and activates the thing, the carbonyl to react. But the thing is, the more iodine it gives you, faster it goes. But problem is, the molecular weight goes down also. So you have to balance all these, A mixed cellulose acetate, instead of acetate, if you have some propionate or butyrate, C3 or C4, that also works, And mixed cellulose ester, that's, so this all works pretty well. Degree of substitution, I'm not going into all these, but you can vary all these. We have tons of paper in carbohydrate polymer, which has impact factor about 12, 11, which is pretty good for chemistry, because we are the first one we could have many papers, And DS on starch, as the time goes, it keeps on going up and things like that. And the effect of iodine and amount of starch acid, the molecular. The more iodine is used, though, it degrades. As a result, the molecular weight goes down. Conclusion, iodine catalyzed acetylation reaction is an effective alternative method to synthesize cellulose ester. And you don't have to go through all these. Then there are many slides left. If you're not part of solution, you are part of precipitate. So now cellulose and starch, they both have hydroxy. So they have, it's difficult to dissolve them, starch. And if you dissolve, they dissolve in DMS or dimethyl sulfoxide. But if you like to react, dimethyl sulfoxide reacts also. So we needed to find some inert solvent. So we were looking some solvent which would dissolve, but yet would not react. So non-reactive inert solvent. So that time there was something called ionic liquid, and we thought we'd try that in ionic liquid. If it works, then we can modify it. So, and which should be recyclable and environment compatible, Ionic liquid, there is lots of literature, that when we did, there were less, but now there are many other, and many much more improved ionic liquid also. So we have these two components. Basically, it's a salt. Cationic and ionic together, hit them, they become liquid. So here you can see after hitting 100 degree for 1 hour, even on the left, one is water, one is ionic liquid. Ionic liquid is more clearer than the water even. So very well, it dissolves very well. But we see there is slight drop in molecular weight. But when you try to make acetate, we could make acetate also out of that. And that time we used some urea, choline chloride, they call deep eutectic solvent. They also dissolved pretty well, but we did not pursue much on that area. Here we do polysaccharide, which is starch, cellulose ester, then enzyme for polymer synthesis, waste conversion to value-added modification, zero product, and development of synthetic methodology, microwave, ionic liquid, and others. We do other things also, but so far this is what I've talked about. Microwave-assisted synthesis and characterization of sucrose polyurethane. So we did some polyurethane making with isocyanate, with sucrose, lactose. These are all hydroxy-compliant polymer. I would not get into that. I mean, there are lots of review articles and other things we did. The person who worked most on this is Janet Barfield, who worked with me for 12, 13 years. She was very good. Then also my colleague from Hercules to USDA, H.N. Cheng. who was 2 years back, he was the award winner, and he was the president of American Chemical Society also. And for things to change, you have to change. You may be thinking, so I'd like to do some change, and you don't have to change. So let me demonstrate some change. So here is some catalyst for change. Nothing changed, so because you did not change. Did not change. Well, when we are talking about magic, you see here is a ribbon. I like to show magic when I talk because people get bored otherwise. Just when is it going to over? So that they don't get mad at me. Just for my own protection, I show magic. Oh, please don't go. Well, this is, somebody else, poor fellow, discovers or something. He doesn't get any patent, nothing, and I'm getting the glory. I feel bad, So there is no patent on magic unless you are David Copperfield and other. Apparently, they have patent, that level. A discovery of solid jojoba oil. This is done by my co-worker, Kevin Liu. I was one of the co-authors, basically using Jerry King's technology of liquid carbon dioxide. What we have done recently, jojoba oil is a liquid because it is in one conformation. That's they are C's conformation, and they're liquid. What we have found, let's see the jojoba oil, repair hair. It makes your skin more glowy. And if I knew that 40 years ago, too bad it's too late, I know that. And isomerization of Cs to trans-olefin is an important reaction. So what we have found that with BF3 catalyzed in carbon dioxide is supercritical, which Jerry King is the pioneer in that. Kevin showed that we can make the solid jojoba oil. You see, the cis is the structure and trans is the solid. So nobody reported that 100% conversion of, Now, what is the benefit of solid? We have to see. Easy to transport and other things, liquid versus, and we are talking with several companies and see where does it go. And this transformation is 100% almost. And this is all these things table. I don't like you to, it just works very well. So, ability to produce trans isomer of jojoba oil may be used in the cosmetic and food areas in view of its melting point. It is low melting, but still, it is solid. Now, for me, fortunately, being in science has given me, many awards, and this one is very notable because you feed me like a pig, and before you are slaughtered, maybe. But thank you for this award, and I appreciate all the hard work you do and everything, And so I got from Brazil, Science Without Border and many other things, and Brazil has been very good to me. I enjoy photography, so Brazil is very good for that, So, This is Lake Michigan, this one. This is the lighthouse in New England. The most photographed lighthouse, apparently. This is called Iguazu Falls in Brazil, where 3 countries, Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina meets. This is the Iguazu Falls, actually. No. Oh, this is. Anyway, so, thank you. I like to be in the news. That's why USDA and others, they approach me quite often. Oh, you are very good for, they know I'm eager and they like somebody who's enthusiastic to be in the media. So recently we did lactose to polyurethane. So California, there are many articles that this one they cover, no more crying over spilled milk. So then IFT, which is the biggest conference, one of them, they featured me one time, artistic science. Fine, I didn't put the whole thing. I have the links for all these. But this one is, and somebody wrote also in ARS, scientist of many. I don't think I have many talents, but somebody says I don't protest. So, this is by Peanut. Peanut has funded my research giving, so we try to use up Peanut for something. And this is the first time I got Fulbright, then I got another time. This is Hoslin, who was my collaborator. And this is about my music company, which I get to later a little bit, is my wife, So these are the covers of some of the CDs I produced, And this is in Calcutta newspaper, actually. And working with Hercules, I established an Indian music record label, Biswas record. That was first time, and that was the largest Indian music record at that time outside India, And so I produced about 225 CDs while working for Hercules. I enjoyed doing that, and that shaped up the personality also, because you talk to so many people. Selling is a very good lesson, So this is some of the covers. That's why I had to, not that I designed all these, none of these actually, but I have to go over and select whether I like the cover, Our CDs used to be sold in Barnes & Noble, Tower Record, then Sam Goody and others. But the CDs are gone, So naturally it was sad for me, but what can I do? Fortunately, I did not leave my day job, so I lost money, but I did not lost my maybe soul or whatever. So for me, a CD is turned to be crushed dreams. So I took this photo. So I took the CDs and break them in pieces. I thought, well, So now that the science and arts, there is a lot of commonality in science and arts. The creativity, intuition, willingness to throw out and other things. Steve Jobs, a real artist, shipped products. And Apple and Pixar, Steve's 2 jobs. I saw this quote somewhere. Apple uses art to create technology. Pixar uses technology to create art. So this is something I showed you before I designed. Then there are many other things like chorus, medley. A lot of the name I gave, USDA uses this newsletter, Still Diversity. Chorus, they use the medley one. So I did many of this design, like this one I described before. This is PII protection. When I was in Parlier, where Bill has been from that area actually, I was acting leader for 4 months. So they have this stakeholder meeting first time. And Parlier has a lot of stakeholders because a lot of farming and very expensive farming, almond, raisin, and other things. So for that, I thought, there has to be some cover art. So I bought the clip art. Then somebody said, all the people work there are not white. So I thought, okay, let's make this color neutral, because there really the workers are all migrant and very tough working condition, very hot. And so I have this photograph and put all these to make this poster. So there are 3 hands. One is protecting the crops. Other one preventing from bug. Other one is giving water. There is a huge water shortage there, And this is the undersecretary. She asked me to do detail for her for 3 months, and I was surprised that my poster was only thing in her office related to USDA. And she used to report for the Vilsack, was the agriculture secretary. And she liked that poster, probably that's, but I thought that's good. This is Chicago, Michigan Avenue. I was working on biofuel, so I did this biofuel poster. This is used for some displays, biofuel producers. Then bean growers gave me $250,000 or something, so I had this, envisioned this, so that became the Eat Beans by All Means poster. Then my PhD advisor, Notre Dame, Marvin Miller, his 60th birthday, we went there, so I met this, A remixing tool for innovation. Really, music, art, science, everything we have to, we are not so independent thinker that I'm thinking something nobody thinks about. That's difficult. Maybe super talented, I'm not. So do this, do not. So I just made some of these posters, Now, going forward, why we do the plant-derived, there are two things. One is it gives out less carbon dioxide, takes less energy. Then it's biodegradable. And it's the carbon dioxide, which is the culprit, which goes and destroys the ozone layer. Ozone layer destroyed means sun ray reaches and heats up the thing. So our goal eventually for USDA or everybody who is working, basically make things cyclic so that you use recycle. And now easier to say than doing, but that is we all working. We are kind of putting one brick at a time, and eventually the building will be built. Now, chemistry is a nature, magic. Maybe I'll show you one more magic, and that is the end of it. So, well, after that, before that, I'll show you that, then the question. Let me show you. So I said that I mentioned that water management is a problem. So here is the newspaper. Let me see a glass of water. I can take this. It is a newspaper. So now I like to pour some water in it. I'm afraid to open it up. Let's see what happens. Well, it did not fall. So let's see. Still did not fall. Let's turn it upside down. Still did not fall. See, this is where we whole world loses water, So what do we do now? What happened to the water? Let's see. Oh. Thank you so much. Any question you have or whatever, I'll be happy to, answer. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? Like, where did the water go? I want to know where the...
I just want to know what you aren't good at.
No. I'm not very good at anything. That's a jack of all trade and master of nothing,
Was your primary discipline organic synthesis then?
Yes. Organic synthesis was my primary discipline. At those days, still organic synthesis was more valuable, but now nobody likes to do any synthesis. That's too much work,
So how did you learn the biochemistry?
Well, bio, fortunately, I have the, fortunate to be in contact with many bio people who I could collaborate. And those days it was less common, but now it looks like without that you cannot survive. You cannot get the grant or anything, so pure organic chem is difficult to have.
Gary?
I think you probably answered some of the question already, but your feeling about petroleum-based polymers versus the oligomers and polymers based on sort of a natural product. We've had a lot of discussion or a lot of data lately about microplastics. How do the natural products, biopolymers, sort of degrade and end up in the environment relative to the petroleum-based?
Natural biodegradability, when it is natural polymer, they degrade pretty well. They don't give microplastic. But challenge is making natural polymer, which is as good as petroleum-based, the mechanical property and all these. That is a big challenge. There is certain application you can replace, but still by far the major we have not been able to replace. Easier. Then the second thing is cost also. So that's it's an ongoing thing, but it is not so simple. Really. Thank you, Gary.
I have a quick question. What's the cost differential between a biodegradable polymer made from plant materials and a petroleum-based polymer made from non-biodegradable? What's like the cost differential right now? Is it a 2-to-1 ratio, or is it
probably more, even more actually. So a lot of companies say, "Oh, we now make bio-derived the same thing," but when you ask them, they don't have much. It is experimental product. Commercially, who is going to pay so much more? It is a lot more, and sometimes you cannot even mimic the property even.
The thing is a plastic bag costs like 1/10 of a cent.
Sure.
So then you can get a plastic bag for 0.3 cents. It'll hardly.
You cannot beat it.
But I guess the profit motive is.
Yeah, it is difficult to do that. That's like the dicyclopentadiene. Those are 10 cents a pound. You make adhesive, whatever, out of that, and nothing can be cheaper than 10, 12 cents a pound. So. It will be an ongoing thing, but not so simple. Maybe certain application, but at this point, doesn't look like all application. No. And when you are making composite and other, you don't let the plane's wing fall apart or something. So property is very important.
But hasn't the cost differential come down over the past decade?
No.
It's getting a lot better.
That is a lot better. But still long way to go also. Yeah, a lot better. Definitely, it is much better.
So there are a lot of plastics that we're using from natural sources. So one thing I have been doing for the past 1 month in our lab is that I'm collecting the pipette tips that we are discarding in a huge bag. So in about 4 weeks, I've collected a huge bag of pipette tips. Do you think that your natural plastics will ever be able to replace those consumables that we use in the lab, or be inert enough that we replace all of the synthetic plastic with this natural plastic?
No, you see, one commercially successful natural plastic is PLA, polylactic acid, but they are expensive. They're optical, very nice property, but they are expensive, and certain mechanical property they may not. So, the goal is to do that, but when that will happen, time will tell, but it is not yet there, And a lot of chemical, a lot of advertisement, you see, nature derived and all those, but they are kind of, who knows, mixed or something. Marketing also to some extent, but that is the goal.
Any other questions out there?
I have one general question and one specific one. So it's amazing that you work on so many different problems. Are you actually looking for a problem to solve, or you were presented a problem, you try to find a solution?
One problem I've been trying to solve, I could not, the state of the economy, that I'm not rich. No, well, we have 5-year plan that we have to go by, but if you have some interesting thing, we can talk and, if something low-hanging fruit, definitely would be interested to do. Because you keep on doing, you never know which one would give you the biggest return, You don't know. Big shot is a small shot who takes a lot of shots, something like that,
Okay. For your iodine catalyzed esterification, does it work for also carboxylic acid or only works for anhydride?
No, acid doesn't work. Has to be anhydride.
Has to be anhydride?
Yeah. But any anhydride is good, but acidic anhydride is the best.
Will it work for acid chloride?
Pardon?
Will it work for the acid chloride?
Acid chloride, no. Anhydride, only anhydride. Now, if you do acid chloride and other catalysts, then there is not much incentive because already methods are there. But acidic anhydride works, no solvent. Solvent doesn't work either. So, but you can always try because it's so easy. It doesn't work just fine.
So I have a question from an economic standpoint.
Sure.
So does the U.S. Does your organization require you to look at return of investment on to provide justification, kind of piggybacking on this question?
Not really. We have quite a bit of freedom. Normally, it has to be something of USDA, but in general, it gives us quite a bit of. And return on investment, not really, because you guys pay for our salary.
Right.
So that's and we don't have to bring grant, but I always get some, peanut growers or pulse grower or something,
So is there follow-up, 5-year follow-up on projects to see okay, you guys implemented this?
Yeah, we have an annual performance review. Like we are writing 5-year plan. Every year we have to say this will do, and all these. And so their performance review, that's what bringing outside money is good, that kind of thing, And so all the postdoc, anything I got, I always get outside funding, actually. USD is a good place to work, actually. Very good. It's a very good organization. Thank you.
Anybody, any other questions? If not, let's thank our award winner and speaker.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bill, so nice knowing you.